fine, thank you. And how are things in Missouri?
They're Missouri. They're I can't say anything other than it's very Missouri here.
Yeah,
So,
it's very where I'm from. It's very California. It's very Malibu. There is a fire about 30 miles away.
oh
Y-
really?
Yeah, and we're wondering if we're going to have to. If it's fortunately the wind's not picking up, but if it does, we're going to have to get out of here again.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
So that's just part of life here.
No.
So
Well, we're
trade
worried
you.
about tornadoes. So,
Yeah,
we've always got our tornado thing going on.
I'm from Indiana, and I remember tornadoes. I went to school in St. Louis. I remember tornadoes. Then
Oh,
you moved to.
really? I should ask you the St. Louis question. What school did you go to in St. Louis? That's
I
what
ain't
everybody asks.
telling. I ain't telling.
So, I I'm really excited to talk to you. First of all, I mean,
Good.
I'm a
Same here.
huge fan, and I'm tell you my two favorite Wella Voodoo songs are Far Side of Crazy
Oh,
and Business of Love. I love A Business of Love is I mean it just hits home because I think everybody's been in that situation. If you've had a relationship that just
yeah.
you've been in that situation where you captured the moment in that song,
The fight on the bus.
the fight on the bus or
God.
over just something incredibly stupid,
Right.
and you just it's done.
Well,
And
both
so
songs.
I love that song.
Well, thank you very much. And that was one of my favorites, and it was a collaboration between Chaz T. Gray and I from Voodoo. Do you want me to start in right here?
Yeah, just go right ahead. I mean,
That
just
was a
keep going.
collaboration between Chaz T. Gray and I. He had this song that the chords were. One night he was in rehearsal and he was playing all these chords and playing this, and all of a sudden he went into this chorus. This business of love will never do, and it was just like art, 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 and all of a sudden hit song chorus, and
Yeah,
then art, art,
yes.
art, 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 art. So I said, well, I have this other song I've been working on with this chord progression that I actually got in a huge fight with my girlfriend over the song topic, so I wanted to throw that topic out. And so we combined the two songs, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were writing songs for Sammy's Town, preparing for Sammy's Town. And Mark Moreland, the guitar player, comes into rehearsal. Stop me if I'm boring you, but he comes into
No. Oh
rehearsal. He
gosh,
goes,
no.
I just had a big fight with Christine, and she was chasing me, and I got on the bus, and then he was trying to get away from his girlfriend, and it was LA traffic. He got on the bus, and the bus is going like 2 miles an hour in traffic, and she's
Yeah.
just walking right beside the bus. The bus stops. She gets on the bus. Mark gets off. It was one of those kind of stories. So I just combined my ex and Mark's ex, and we put them together for this song of This Business of Love Will Never Do.
Yeah.
And it was a great collaboration between Chaz and I. That
How did the song Far Side of Crazy come about?
Okay. You got time for a story? Okay.
You got all the time you want.
Okay. So in the 80s, I was living in San Francisco in the early 80s, and I had a job as a legal messenger. I worked for a firm called Brobeck, Flager and Harrison. We were on the 27th floor, and they had a room full of messengers. And it was like it was just you ever like pull something back on the wall and there's like 30 roaches behind something. That's what
Yes.
the messenger department was. The rest of it was all lawyers and beautiful secretaries and beautiful handsome lawyers, and then this room full of degenerate messengers that they would say, take this to 325 Sansom. And we would sit in this room till we were called. Okay, so it's this high rise big business downtown San Francisco. I loved the job. I would sit in that room and write all day, and then go get an assignment and go out and walk in beautiful San Francisco and deliver it and come back, take my time. So anyway, I'm coming back from a delivery, and all of a sudden I'm coming up to the building, gigantic high rise, and there's people just running out of the building. One guy runs out of the building, like hundreds of people running out of the building. One guy falls down and vomits. Another guy, a couple people come out and they're covered in blood, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I just want what's going on? And somebody runs past me and says, sniper. And I said, where? And this guy's running away. He says, I don't know. That's what makes him a sniper. And I went, that's right. So I can either run away from the building or go in the building. And I went inside the building.
Okay.
Because it's a sniper.
Why not?
It's a moment. It's just that moment. It's so crazy. You don't know what to do. So I went into the building. I took the elevator up to whatever it was, the 27th floor. The doors open up, and here are all the messengers with like broom handles and anything they could use for a weapon, because they just saw the elevator coming up to their floor, and they said, "Here," they're thinking, "Here comes the sniper."
Yeah.
It was me, and so the door opens up, and they all go, "You fucking asshole!" I'm sorry. Can we cuss?
Yep. Go right ahead.
I thought you were. And I said, "What is going on?" So anyway, 2 floors below my office, the office where I worked, some guy came in with a shotgun hid in a box of long stem roses for his wife, who was the receptionist, and he blew her away. And he blew the guy who she was having an affair with, blew him away and killed I don't know how many other people.
Wow.
So we couldn't leave the building till 7, 8 o'clock, and it was just absolutely terrifying, and you just didn't know what was going on. I'll never forget coming home that day on the bus and seeing all these people around me thinking that they were all aware of what happened, and nope, nobody had heard anything about it, and life was just carrying on. Meanwhile, inside, I'm like this. So this stuck with me for quite a while. It was quite traumatic and horrific. And then somewhere around that time, John Hinckley Jr. Took a couple shots at President Reagan. And the two experiences just kind of congealed, of me witnessing the result of a moment, of an action like that, and then being bombarded by the media constantly about John Hinckley Jr. and President Reagan and what motivated Hinckley. And so that was everywhere. So I just started doing my research, and one night started playing kind of an ostinato that went bump, 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 bump. And I sang it. I just started singing. The song came out of nowhere. And 3 days later, it was done. But it was rooted in my firsthand experience of watching that absolute sheer panic and terror of a shooter. And so I utilized that experience with what I was experiencing through the media with John Hinckley Jr.
Are you, I think I'm going to ask a stupid question here. Are you familiar with the author Jim Thompson?
What did he write?
Well,
what book did he write, Joe?
There was a guy would have been on IRS records, MC 900 Foot Jesus. And he wrote a couple songs from that were based kind of on Jim Thompson novels. And he wrote these kind of novellas that were all really based from the killer's point of view. So when you were reading the book, you're in this psychotic person's brain, and you're listening to all the rationale. Right. And then by the time you finish the book, you're like, oh, I've just been somewhere I didn't really want to be. And when I listen to that song, that's part of how I feel when I listen to that song. I'm like someplace I don't really want to be, you know. I stroked the shaft of my guitar while I watched you on the screen. That line will stick with me forever.
Right, and it puts you in a place you don't want to be, and the ghost of Irving Berlin sits next to me and says, "What are you, crazy? Are you crazy? You're supposed to put them where they want to be. That's where they want to be. You gotta Easter bonnet. That's what the people want. Give them Easter bonnet."
Uncomfortable. I've been
putting together a collection of songs that were, I don't know, ignored, rejected, that we didn't have time to get to during my Wall of Voodoo years. and I was listening to a rough mix of a collection I'm putting together from all these songs from 85, 86. And, I just went, Andy, too many serial killers, too much death.
I don't think so. I don't think you can get enough of that. So let me ask you,
Sure.
how did you end up in Walla Voodoo?
That is another story. Folks, grab yourself a cup of coffee. I'm going to take a little sip here. Hold a second. Joe, you will edit this out, right?
No, I will not. I will leave it in because I'm going to take a drink.
All right.
So,
all right. So I had come to LA from San Francisco. I'd signed a production deal with a very wealthy man who started a production company, and I knew him as being kind of a wild, drug addicted character, but I had felt that I had gone around and around and around in the circle in San Francisco. And he offered me a deal. Come to LA, we'll produce a tape of Andy Prieboy, we'll shop it to the record labels here and get you a record label, get you a deal. Well, I was young and stupid at the time, as opposed to old and dumb, but I was young and stupid at the time, and I signed the deal because I thought I've done everything I can here in San Francisco, time to move. So I relocated to San Francisco. I will get to the story. Trust me.
I'm here. I'm down for this.
So it turned into a nightmare. The guy's drug addiction. Basically, my project was sort of a cover for him buying drugs. The tape was absolutely abysmal. Although I loved the band ended up being the guys that played with Stan Ridgway years later when Stan went solo. But anyway, that's a whole other sidetrack. Put together this horrible tape. It all fell apart. And then the feds raided his office because they found out about his drug dealing, and there went the deal. So here I was in LA. I was working at a toy store called Wacko because there was no money. I was working for minimum wage selling toys, which is a very fun job, selling toys. Because to sell a toy, you have to play with it, which is just great. You make people happy. And I was pretty damn dejected. I'd broken up with my girlfriend from the lady who was mentioned in This Business of Love. God rest her soul. So I was in LA alone, my old band from San Francisco, a million miles away, destruction there, working for minimum wage. And the one good thing is I was dating a beautiful Asian woman named Maria. And Maria was very social, and everybody knew and loved Maria. I'm kind of an awkward soul. But anyway, Maria wanted to go to a party, and I didn't drive. I didn't have a car. I was a member of LA's swinging bus set back then.
It seems to be that buses are a central part of your life here.
Yeah, there's a Bruce Moreland song from the Happy Planet era called Bus Stop. I mean, we all were just, anyway. All right, I digress. So, okay, watch what happens. All right. So I'm waiting to go to the party. Maria wants to go to a party. I don't drive. She's going to pick me up in her little orange Volkswagen Bug and take me to the party. And I'm sitting on the doorstep of my roach-ridden apartment in Hollywood, just as dejected and blue and lost as a soul can be. And it was a full moon, and I'm waiting for Maria, and I looked up at the full moon. I swear to God, this is true. And I just, in a moment of surrender, said, "Send me a band, please. Send me a band." And I said this. I said, "Send me a band, please, that has been together, that would get my sense of humor, would get my music, that they've been together and they have a rapport with one another, so it's not like I'm entering into a room full of strangers. And please, if there's anybody out there that you can send me to them." And I said this. I said, "I will do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, I will do if you send me the band." I said, "And if you don't, I'll keep looking, but if you could, please send me a band." Maria pulls up. There she is. Dejectedly, I get in her car. We go to the party, and Maria, again, as I said, is very social. She goes, I said, go talk to your friends. I'll be fine, because I'm not a gregarious kind of a guy, unless I'm doing an interview with The Cave, And, so I'm just standing around and I see some people. Like I said, I'm working on Melrose Avenue in a toy store called Wacko, and across the street from where I live is this punk rock store called Posier. And I see one of the guys who works there. I don't know him directly. I would see him walking on the street. So, you know how it is when you work on a street like that. You kind of know everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we are kind of find ourselves next to each other. He's this gorgeous rock goth Nosferatu kind of a character, and he's got this beautiful Morticia Adams girlfriend next to him. And we start talking, and I just said, "You work at Poser?" He goes, "Yeah, you work at Wacko, you know Billy." And I'm like, "Yeah, blah 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 blah." I said, "Hey, you ever buy a sandwich from that lady off the street?" That kind of BS, right?
Yeah.
Just shop talk. I didn't even ask his name. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm talking to him, and I'm kind of like scanning the room, and I see from the distance this guy in this kind of shabby ass suit kind of waddles up to us, and I immediately go, "This guy's really drunk." And he looks at me, comes up to us, looks at me, and looks at the guy I'm talking to, and then looks at me again, does this, and then says to the guy I'm talking to, he points at me, he goes, "This is the guy you're looking for. I can tell by looking at him. This is the guy you're looking for." And then he says, "Can you sing?" And I went, "Well, typical cool musician." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "It doesn't matter if you can sing. And he says to the guy I'm talking to, "Just look at this guy. This is the guy you want. This is the guy you've been looking for." Okay. So by this point, I figure the guy I'm talking to is in a band of some kind. I mean, he looks like a musician. I look like a musician. And of course, cool musicians, I kind of look at my fingernails, go, "Oh, so you're in a band, huh?" And the guy goes, he looks at his fingernails, goes, "Yeah." I said, "What do you play?" He goes, "I play bass." He says, "What do you play?" I said, "Well, I sing, I write, I play keyboards, a little bit of guitar." I said, "What's the name of your band?" He said, "Wall of Voodoo." And that's when the drunk goes, "And you're the guy they're looking for." So, Joe, this is 20 minutes from when I was on my doorstep.
Oh my God.
Praying to the full moon. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which led me to think that the powers that be, the Muse, God Almighty, whoever we're talking about here, is actually 10 minutes away. It took 10 minutes to get the message to him, and it got 10 minutes to get the message back.
Yeah.
20 effing minutes. Now, I knew Wall of Voodoo was looking for a singer. I remember the first time somebody said, MTV is advertising for a singer for Wall of Voodoo. And I remember my first thought was, what idiot would send them a tape? God, somebody's got to be an idiot to send them a tape, because I never would do something like that. Like, "Oh, AC/DC's looking for a new singer. Here's my tape." I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, but then Bruce said, the guy introduced himself as Bruce, and, "How you do?" And he goes, you got a tape of your stuff?" I said, "Yeah, I got a tape of my stuff." And he goes, "Well, why don't you just drop it by the store tomorrow?" And I went, "Okay." So I dropped it by the store, and he said, "If my brother likes it," Mark, he goes, "If my brother likes it, maybe we can get together." I said, "Great." So I put together a tape of 3 songs, Far Side of Crazy, Room with a View. These were 4-track demos I had done. And another song called The Hun, which I'm going to be releasing soon. I gave him Far Side, Room with a View, and The Hun, and then my phone went dead because I couldn't afford to pay my phone bill. So they shut my phone off. And those were like 3 agonizing days of, did they call? Did they call? Did they call? Got my phone turned back on. There was a message from Bruce saying, "My brother really liked your stuff. Why don't you get together with Mark and talk to him?" And I got together with Mark and found him absolutely lovely and sweet and humble, disarming. He was like, Mark was like, "We never set out to write a hit. We just wrote what we liked, and one of them hit, and that was Mexican Radio. But it was just a song we liked. We figured if we liked it, everybody else would like it." And where I had been in this LA production thing, it was a real kind of Tin Pan Alley. Sit down and write a hit song. This is what the
Yeah.
market wants. And it was so refreshing to be with somebody who had actually had a hit, be completely unimpressed by it, and it just being the product of having fun or writing and enjoying writing and being in a band together. And that made me feel like I was getting close to home. That's what I was looking for. And so that started the ball rolling, and we started rehearsing and then started recording and got along enough to put together Sammy's Town. It wasn't easy. The original members from Wall of Voodoo is like, it's like the scene in the Hollywood Western where you walk up to a card game and you go, "Mind if I join in?" And they kind of just look at you and they say, "Sit down." So you sit down, and it's just this kind of quiet card game. The guys I was in a band with before were very verbal, very well read, quite exuberant, very, very funny. Wall of Voodoo was very, very quiet, very serious. It wasn't until Ned Lukehart joined the band that it began to loosen up for me, because Ned is very gregarious, very funny, very friendly. He was the sort of the Switzerland of the band. So that's where it really began to work. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
No. That's exactly what I want. But one of my interests in music is just bands and the dynamic and the rising, the denouement, and then the fall off. I'm really fascinated by that. And I by the way, and this is me rambling on, is that I bought the last two Wall of Voodoo releases, the Lost Tapes and the live album, and I really thoroughly enjoyed reading your liner notes.
Oh, thank you.
I thought they were incredibly well written
Thank
and
you.
very insightful into what was going on with the band.
Yeah.
They were, you were factual, but you weren't burdened by it.
Right.
And so
Thank
I
you.
just really enjoyed reading it. They're some of the best that I've read. I think the art of writing liner notes has been lost to some degree.
Well,
So
thank you.
I'm sitting there reading, and you've worked on these records with Chaz. And one thing that really stuck out to me when I was reading them is Stan Ridgway is referred to as the singer. He's not referred to by name. It's just the singer.
And now
So,
you've referred to him by name.
yes. And well, you referred to him earlier by name.
I
And so
know.
I thought, okay,
I'm just giving you a stick, Joe. Just giving you some old-fashioned Missouri stick.
I guess we can talk about Stan for just a minute. So, I mean, is that I guess that pain's still there, right?
No,
With him
it's the thing is, we didn't mention Stan. I like Stan. I got to know Stan about 10 years ago, and I had a great year and a half talking to that guy on the phone just about every other night. It was fantastic. There's only two people in this world who knows what it's like to be in Wall of Voodoo, and it's me and Stan Ridgway. And we would get on the phone and just say stuff like, did you ever go into rehearsal and just feel like singing a Beatles song, and you sing a Beatles song and those guys are going, shut that shit off. Stop that shit. Fuck. That's fucking awful. Stop it. Yeah, he's like, yeah, what is that? I go, I don't know. They're such punk rock purists. Those guys just hated anything. Okay. We didn't mention Stan because what we were trying to do, and this is on the Museums album, right?
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to tell Chaz's story. I wanted to tell Mark's story. And if we bring up Stan, who we all love, we all like, but if we use that name, it suddenly goes, well, what was it like before he left and all that stuff? And I wanted when I was working on the liner notes for the Museums record, is I wanted to tell the story of my two band members, Chaz T. Gray, Mark Moreland, and Joe Nannini, who was involved at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go back and say, so here you were, and then Stan leaves the band. I wanted Chaz's story. So that's really what uh, the idea behind that was. It certainly was no disrespect, but it was like, here is the reality. Your singer has left. Your record company says you're not worth anything without this singer. You guys don't write songs. Meanwhile, the guys who co-wrote all these songs are saying, wait a minute. Yes, we
Yeah.
do. So they're behind the eight ball. So that was what I was trying to uh, uh, create there. Was
I'm fascinated. I've been fascinated by it, and I've always been fascinated by the relationship because for me as a record buyer, when Sammy's Town came out, the Big Heat came out right around the same time. Both records were, to me as a record buyer, I don't know if they were released in the same month. I know it was the same year,
same
right around
era,
the same time, and I
same.
loved both. I love
Yeah,
both records.
yeah, they're both great records.
And it was
Uh,
like it was like getting two Wall of Voodoo records at the same time, and it was like each going in sort of the same direction, but with different takes in it.
right. You
And
still
it
had
and I don't want to bog down the interview talking about Stan Ridgway because I'm here because I want to talk to you. And but I just wondered about that when I read the liner notes, and I thought, is there still animosity there?
no,
Is that
no. It's
gone?
you know, how do you say, like, it's like asking a couple who've gotten divorced, do you guys
Mhm.
still, is there still animosity? And it's been 40 years. It's like, hell, nah. But between the original members, and I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Uh, you would have to ask them.
Yeah.
As
No.
far as I'm concerned, I have no animosity to Stan Ridgway.
You shouldn't. I mean,
I loved.
Wall Voodoo,
I've
Wall
said
Voodoo with you is completely different. And
right. And
yeah,
I've also, when we sang the old Wall of Voodoo songs, our policy was to always sing the songs that the existing members had a big hand in writing. So, and I have to say, singing the old stuff was an honor. As a songwriter, as a lyricist, it was absolutely fantastic to sing those songs.
yeah,
Songs like Red Light, we would do Red Lights. We didn't do The Passenger, Mexican Radio, a couple other ones. But it was great to sing those songs. Those are great songs. And as a singer, it's great to sing great songs. So I personally have no animosity towards my compatriot.
I
Uh,
didn't think that you would. I just was curious about the
I
other
am
guys.
no, no.
And
I know Stan and Chaz talk all the time
oh,
because,
really?
yeah, they got business. Old Wall of Voodoo One business they have to take care of and stuff. So we're all old men now. Here's the
Yeah,
thing. It's like when Chaz and I were working on the live record and digitizing it and mixing it and blah, 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 we got into two old timey arguments like we used to get into in Wall of Voodoo. Here's the difference. Now we apologize. Now we're like, sorry, my wife tells me I get like this, and I should really cut that shit out. I'm really sorry. That's okay. Blah 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 blah. That would have never happened in the old days. Now, as mature old men who've been married, we found out we're not the center of the universe, so we're able to apologize.
just
And,
off
yeah,
center of the
yeah,
universe.
yeah.
So one of the reasons why I really did want to talk to you was talk about these last two releases, which are phenomenal. The first one being the live record, and I I harken back to your liner notes, which were amazing. But one of the things that really interested me is where these were at, how they were found, and how they ended up being on record and for people to be able to hear again, because that process was not easy.
No, I was out to catching up with Chaz T. Gray. We got together for coffee, and we were sitting around talking. So, what have you been doing lately? And I told him about what I'd been doing with my musical White Trash Wins Lotto. I said I had found a group of ADAT recording, ADAT tapes that I had recorded 5 nights of live shows back in 2000 or 1999. And I digitized them. I went to a place in LA, worked with a guy named Bill Smith, and he digitized all this antiquated recording equipment. ADATs were horrible. Are you familiar with ADATs?
Yeah. Mhm.
just the worst. And they were hard to work with, and then they went out of fashion, whatever you would call it in the tech world. And so I had boxes of these live shows, 24 track recordings of my 15 member cast singing in front of a live audience, and on completely unusable tape. So I took it to this place run by a guy named Bill Smith, and he goes, "Oh yeah, hell, I can do that. I got one of those machines here." And he digitized it, the entire musical, 5 nights. So I'm telling Chaz about this, right? And we're having coffee, and then Chaz goes, "Huh, well, that's cool." He goes, "I wonder if you could do that with all those fucking tapes I got in the garage." And I, just went, "What tapes in the garage?" "What tape?" He goes, "Oh, those live tapes that we recorded and all these studio reels. I got tons of reels in the garage." I said, "You are effing kidding me." He goes, "No, I've been dragging this shit around for 35 years. I said, "I'm going to come out to your house this week, and we're going to go through everything and see what you have." And we did. And the album cover was me coming to Chaz's garage, opening up that old road case, and it was the tapes, and they were buried in hundreds of these little toys he collected while on the road. And I said, "Don't touch a thing. Let me take a picture." I took a picture of that, and that turned out to be the album cover. So we found all these reels, live reels, 24 track recordings. We found, oh my God, we have in our possession, Joe, the 2-track master of Sammy's Town.
Oh wow.
Right, because here's how what would happen. The record company, they would make the master in Liverpool. They sent it to the record company in the United States. The record company calls up Chaz, said, "Hey, why don't you go get this mastered?" Chaz would take the tape, get it mastered for Sammy's Town, and the record company never asked for the tape back. And we're so busy, we never returned it. Now here we are 40 years later, 30 years later, with the 2-track master. Anyway, where was I? Joe, I'm lost in the past. Joe, where am I?
We were talking about what Chaz had in his garage.
So we had the Sammy's Town masters, 2-track masters. They have the 16-track masters of this Wall of Voodoo Holy Grail song called Fun Zone, the original master to that, recording of that, 16 tracks. Tons and tons and tons and tons, 24-track tapes we recorded live. And I said, "Let's get these over to Bill Smith." And so we took them to Bill Smith, and he baked them all, put them in the oven. He made sure that there was, no mold. Fortunately, there was not. And we baked them for, what was it, 8 hours, is it? You have to bake, that. It's in the liner notes, right? Do I have to explain to your listener? Do I have to explain to your listeners about baking tapes?
I think it would be worthwhile, because when I talk about it, I just get like 2 seconds.
Folks, I'm going to break your heart. You know those records you loved from the 60s and 70s where, God, they sound so good. They're the real thing. You know what kept those tapes together that you can still remaster them? Whale oil. It was whale oil on the tapes. Well, there was an act passed where you could no longer use whale oil for anything, for any industrial purposes in the United States. And they thought, well, we'll just make tapes without the whale oil. Well, that's fine, except within 10 years, they begin to absorb all the gunk in the air, even if they're in the box. So the tapes become unplayable. Anything made after somewhere in the mid-70s to whenever they stopped using tape was not used with whale oil, would absorb the moisture in the air. So now you have to bake them for like 8 hours at like 1 something. I don't know how they figured it out, but they did.
Trial and error.
We had so many tapes that needed to be baked. Bill Smith baked them all. And we came in. He says, "Okay, your tapes are ready. Come on in." And we came in, and he played us a couple of rough mixes. And he wasn't that familiar with us, but he was like, "Hey, man, you guys were hot shit this night, man. Listen to this." And he played these rough mix of the songs, and we went, you want to mix this record? He goes, yeah. So that's how it got started. And we recorded it at Ocean Way, mixed it at Ocean Way Studios. And was so wonderful to hear the band again play. I hadn't heard these recordings in since the night we recorded them. And it was beautiful, beautiful to hear Mark Moreland's guitar playing. Not one mistake, as I said in the liner notes, not
Yeah.
one weird note, not one thing out of place. So it was quite wonderful to be working with Chaz in our golden years, to be listening to these songs again that we haven't heard in 40 years, and put the album together and get it out to folks. So it was really a wonderful way to kind of like, here's the thing is when you're at our age, you just want it out there to make sure that the work you did, you honor the time and the relationships that were involved. Honor the relationships that you were in with the band and the time involved and the effort involved. We didn't put this record out thinking we're going to make millions of or even hundreds of dollars. We wanted out there. It's like with the museums record. I wanted and Chaz wanted it out there, is that there's this period of time between the old Voodoo and the Sammy's Town Voodoo, that there was a 6-month, 8-month period there where it was Mark and Chaz mainly driving Wall of Voodoo, and they wanted to be the singers. And when the record company didn't want them to be the singers, they got other guys to do it. But there was a period there that they put a lot of time and effort into, and I wanted that documented. So
I found that story really fascinating, and I can't obviously tell it as well as you, but let's pick up. The US Festival has happened. Stan has left the band.
The singer left the band.
The singer left the band, and
sorry,
and,
Stan.
And
Stan, I love you.
And
Stan, I have a gift here for you that I bought for you. If you ever want it, give me a call. I'll send it to you.
What is it?
I'd have to go on the. Can you hold a second?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see what you got, Stan. What do you get, Stan Ridgway? Is my question. What do you get, Andy? What would be a good gift for you, Andy?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Boots.
Size
Okay. 9.5. Ankle or higher. Okay. Anyway, this is what this is probably going to read backwards, but I found this. It's a sheriff's poster. It's a sheriff's poster. And okay, see, you can't see it, it's backwards. But this guy's name is Custer Donovan.
Okay.
It says Custer Donovan, Republican for sheriff, in quotes, elect the man you know. You see this?
Yes.
So I was thinking, this is like a Stan Ridgway song. Custer Donovan, Custer Donovan, oh, elect the man you know. Custer Donovan, oh, don't forget who told you so. So,
does he know that you do that a good of an impersonation of him?
Poor Stan. Everybody does a good impersonation.
Yes.
Stan. Jesus.
Yes.
We got together and we sang together. I have a couple recordings of him and I sing. Just singing some old country songs together. And it's really sweet how beautifully our voices blended. It's, they're in the same timbre ballpark.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't singing like the old Wall of Voodoo Stan. He was just singing like, the solo artist Stan, which is very smooth and beautiful voice.
I'm sure there's enough dorks out there like myself that would love to have that. Would you?
Yeah, of course. And I told Stan, I'm going to record this. I give you my word, I will never release this. If I do release it, it means I have pancreatic cancer and I'm broke. So anyway.
Okay, so I want to pick up the story. Is the singer has left the band, and
Custer Donovan left the band, yes.
And at that point, the lovely guys, the Copeland brothers at IRS Records and FBI, come to you and say, or could not come to you, but come to them and say, "We're not sure you can keep the name." Is that how the story goes?
Roughly, not. It's Miles Copeland and Jay Boberg. It's not.
Okay.
It's not the booking agency. Yeah,
Ian.
right. They're like, well, no, we want to hold on to the name, and you guys really shouldn't have it because we can make use of it, and you guys can't write songs. And they go, well, what are you talking about? Well, prove to us you can write songs. So I mean, that's kind of a gun to your head after all the hard work they did for that record company
Yes.
and success they brought to it. Um, so talk about being behind the eight ball. And I think that made Chaz and Mark want to be Wall of Voodoo even more. I mean, you know what it's like. Somebody says you can't do it, you can't have this. It makes you want to have it more. I don't really know what their psychology was behind all that. This was an this was a this record was a revelation to me as well because all the years we were on the tour bus, we never sat and talked about this stuff. So it was really great for me to hear this story for the first time too, in depth. So,
again, if even if you just love reading liner notes, buy these records to read Andy's liner notes. But
wait a minute, I'm going to stop you right there, Joe.
Okay,
folks. I have a great instinct. I really enjoy writing. I have a good instinct for it. I have a good ear. But I live with a best-selling author who's won 5 or 6 Emmys for writing. So I live with the world's best editor. So if I write something and I give it to my wife, Miss Meryl Marco, and say, what does this need? It comes back like, no, you can't. You got to do this. No. You already said that. You got to. So those liner notes are edited by Miss Meryl Marco. I owe
my wife.
My wife.
My wife does
my
editing
brilliant, wonderfully accomplished wife. So I owe that much. I have to put that down there I have to get that out there, Joe.
Well, I did say that my wife does all my editing for me too. Unfortunately, she's not here to say don't ask about Stan Ridgway. But or look at your watch when somebody calls. But I just found it really interesting, and your ability to translate that story about that time when Wall of Voodoo is a collective, and I think one of the unique things about that band is that you're able to take an integral piece out of it, and then another integral piece comes in, and the band goes on and continues successfully, and that speaks to you and that speaks to the band. But I thought it was really interesting when reading about IRS and their we're not sure you guys deserve that name. I mean, and to think that there was somebody there, to me, I see a guy in a suit with a cigar, with his feet up on the desk and dollar bills all around him saying, well, we could plug anybody into Wall of Voodoo and make them Wall of Voodoo. But that apparently was what was going on.
Right. I don't know. Again, I don't know what their thinking was. Maybe they wanted to hold on to it for exactly like you said. We can just kind of like what Axl Rose did with Guns N' Roses for a while. Just get different.
Plug anybody in.
Yeah. So I don't know what the thinking was. I can't say. I wasn't there for that, but it is indicative of the inconsistencies and sometimes the moral inconsistencies of IRS Records. That was supposed to be this great label for new thinking and new bands, and we're not going to be like the old music business, and yet at the same time they're like the old music business. And it was very, very, very cruel because Chaz and Mark, as I one time said to Stan, I said, when I joined Wall of Voodoo, I thought I was going to meet 5 guys like you. And, Stan is very funny and very outgoing and very well read, and like me, very verbose. And the guys in Voodoo are not like that. So that when the record company says, yeah, no, we're going to take this away from you guys, it's because you're dealing with the quieter guys. You're dealing with the guys who aren't such squeaky wheels, if I may use that term. Certainly am a squeaky wheel. And you tend to, and I know this for a fact, as a singer, is the singer gets a lot of the credit because
Yeah.
he's the one that they all look at, and he's the one that can sell it, if I may use that term. He's the one that can get the point across, so they think that we sit there and we think up everything. We don't. And I think Mark and Chaz, because of their more humble uh, uh, um, personalities, more demure personalities, that they got kind of the record label was trying to steamroll them. But there is a very stubborn fuck you attitude with Wall of Voodoo that they would not be steamrolled. And that's, I wanted that story told. Nobody knew that story. They just thought, oh, Stan left and Andy came in, and that's the end of it. It's like, no, there's a whole process in this.
It both, again, the liner notes, both of the albums, and I have to say this too, both the albums were just, I really enjoyed listening to the records. They were a lot of fun to listen to. I loved the live album, and then when I saw that there would be the new release, the museum pieces, I was all over that. And really enjoyed listening to the records and enjoyed reading about the records too, which is, as I guess my point with all that is saying that that's kind of rare these days. And I remember as a kid, you get the record and you put it on your turntable, or you throw in the cassette and you'd sit there and read.
Right. And you hold the record. It was very intimate. It was a real intimate experience that, CDs and subsequent technology have taken away from us. It was just wonderful to see. And there were albums that you didn't even have liner notes with, and you would just sit there listening to the record, holding the record album, looking at the people who made the record and wondering about this credit and that credit. It was a very intimate, wonderful moment for all of us. And we, Chaz and I, and Jesse, our art director, putting this together, wanted that experience for the people who put hard-earned money into buying a vinyl record. We wanted it to be a really great experience for them. So subsequently, we told the stories, and I really loved doing the interview with Chaz. I mean, that's the edited version. That one went on for quite a while, and that was a great way to tell that story without, being historical about it. It's just like, so tell me, okay, so there you are. You don't have a singer anymore, and the record company saying you can't have the name. What do you do now? Tell me about it. Let's start right there. And I'm glad you enjoyed that, Joe.
I do. It was fun. It was fun to listen to. I'm gonna get both those records out tomorrow, and I'm gonna take them to my other job, and I'm going to listen to them and enjoy them again. But also part of my fascination is what happens after Sammy's Town? What happens after Happy Planet? And
okay,
where's that moment when it was like, oh, okay, maybe it's now time for something different for Andy?
Well, okay, hold a second. Let me pull these stories out of the files. I was the last one to leave. I had my manager, our manager, Wall of Voodoo's manager, and our publisher, MCA Music Publishing, which were great. I had a great relationship, such a great relationship with MCA Music Publishing. IRS Records was across the street and was always very a difficult relationship. But you'd go to MCA and do your songs, and they were very encouraging. They were great. Everybody was saying, okay, I'm sorry, your listeners. Let me go back on this one. So we put out Happy Planet. Happy Planet bombed, kind of. And then IRS Records wants to put out this live record. And we all know, anybody who's on IRS Records knew that if they said, hey, we want to do a live record before we put out your next studio record, that meant we're going to drop you. That meant, you're not going to have a record deal anymore. So they dropped us. And the next day after they dropped us, they wrote us and said, we want to renegotiate for less money. And Mark and Chaz were absolutely sick of these guys by this point. And they said, no effing way, we're going to get another record deal. Well, by this point, it was 1987, 88, and the music scene had completely changed. Everybody was signing long-haired metal bands, glam bands. They, four junkie dudes with guitars playing open E chords. That was all LA wanted. So for a band like Wall of Voodoo to go looking for a deal again was suicidal. Nobody was going to sign us, and we didn't get signed. So we went on the road and tried to carry on for a few years based on Chaz's credit cards and us working for minimum wage and just struggling through. Went on tour a couple of times. And then one day I just didn't see those guys. I didn't see Mark. I didn't see Chaz. I didn't see Ned. Nobody was returning my calls. I went over to their apartment to see what the hell was up, and it was like the fall of Saigon. It was Mark, Chaz, and Ned just throwing everything out and emptying out the apartment they all lived in, which they called Sin Palace. 3 guys living together, just throwing every effing thing out. And I said, what's going on? And Ned said, Chaz has to go work and pay off his credit cards. He's going to go work in the movies, set design. And Mark is going to France to get married. He goes, and Ned says, I'm going to Oslo. And I said, are we still going to work together? And Ned went, I don't know. And as I've said elsewhere, we never officially broke up. They just got drunk and wandered off. And that was it. Nobody ever said, it's over. I don't want to do this anymore. Just kind of said, well, we need to get our lives back together right now. Because it's been, 10 insane years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept holding out that they would come back and, that there was still a really vibrant market for us in Australia and Europe. And we just had to keep working. And I was still making demos every night at MCA recording studios where we had our demo studio. And eventually my manager and the publisher said, Andy, they're not coming back. These guys are not coming back. You got to get your own deal. And I'm like, okay. I really didn't want to go solo. So I put together a solo record of all my Wall of Voodoo demos, called Upon My Wicked Son. And, I originally had written Tomorrow Wendy for Wall of Voodoo to sing, each member of the band taking a verse. So that's how that album came. And, I did well with Wendy, and Concrete Blonde covered it, and a bunch of other bands covered it. And Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt covered Loving the Highwayman, and, take it from there. But it was not something I wanted to do originally.
Yeah. Tomorrow Wendy is, by the way, one of the most amazing songs. It's that song's,
Thank
I
you,
can't, I'm going to stop because I can't say anything that does it justice. So just tell people to listen to it. And it's, you're an incredibly gifted songwriter.
Thank you, Joe. That's very kind of you to say. And I really appreciate that.
They're, people that, you're able to kind of get people into a moment, into a place, into a feeling, and not everybody can do that. Some people can write a really, really good song, a really pithy pop song, but there's very few people that can put you in a moment. And so
thank you, Joe. Very much.
I would have to think, though, I at this point, that with all the revival and reunion tours, that there's people that call you guys constantly and throw money at you and say, will you come out and sing Mexican radio?
Not in the States.
Really?
We could probably get on an 80s tour if we wanted to, but that would mean that with the degree that Wall of Voodoo made it in the States, that would mean we'd be on a bill with Iggy Pop headlining, Susie Banshees or whatever, opening for Iggy Pop, and then 9,000 other bands, and Wall of Voodoo would be on at 3:00 in the afternoon singing Mexican radio. And it's like, I don't want to do that. And I don't want to do it without Mark Moreland. If Mark Moreland was around, God rest his soul, I might think differently, but without Mark, it's just not the same. So,
I
you
mean,
know,
I
if us, we did really well in Australia, nobody's contacted me from there. So, it's not anything I want to do.
I think one of a natural question to kind of ask you, and I respect that. I do. I mean, I think it's really cool that a
Yeah,
band
ugly
can
old
just
guys.
can
Kids just
well
aren't
no
into kids
no
aren't into ugly old guys anymore. I don't know what it is about
no
these modern
I
kids.
what I mean is that it's like this the music of that time and of punk and new wave and post punk and all that stuff. It it was of its moment, and I don't begrudge anybody for making money off of what they were or who they were, but I also think it's good too when there's people who are like, okay, you know what, enough, we can't, we shouldn't do this because of XYZ, and we're not going to do it because of XYZ. So I have respect on both sides of that.
Right.
Over the summer, my wife and I went to see, there was a triple bill in Arkansas. Simple Minds was the headliner, and then there was Soft Cell, and then the opening band was Modern English. Modern English played 5 songs, and the show, the doors opened at 7. My wife and I got there a little after 7, and they were halfway through their set, and I
Oh
was like, well,
man.
I missed that band completely. And I mean,
Do you know how that
is
sucks?
it worth it?
Do you know how bad that sucks for modern English? Do you know how
Yes.
bad that feels to be up first one up and people are coming in, kind of filing in, going, "Well, I'll just wait out here in the lobby." And uh
you know
yeah,
it,
no
and
thank you.
it's like I was pissed. I was like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I get it. I have that, you got that urge as a fan that, oh, I would love to see Wall of Voodoo. I would love to see, I would love to see Paul Westerberg not be a shut-in anymore. But I also respect that, like, this isn't what I do anymore.
Right.
But I also respect the fact that you, as the person you are, you've continued to make music, you've continued to write songs, you've continued to do what you do,
Yeah,
and
I performed the last bunch of shows I did. It was about 2015, and we did Far Side of Crazy, and that arrangement really, really held up really well. And I remember playing it live. We had uh, Bruce Moreland from Voodoo get up and play his brother's guitar lick, um, and it just really was, as a piece of music, really. Doing that Wall of Voodoo arrangement was really wonderful to do. And I wouldn't, I would prefer to do something like Custer Donovan did, uh, like the singer did, like Stan did, and do a tribute. Like he did a 25-year salute to Call of the West. To me, that's way more elegant and way more respectful of the era and the work that you did of getting up there with different musicians and playing the whole album from beginning to end, but without saying, here we are again, everybody. You know,
yeah.
it was far more, like I said, a far more elegant solution to getting up there and playing. I wouldn't mind doing that, but going out there as Wall of Voodoo on some festival 80s thing.
On a cruise, maybe.
Yeah, oh, my dad was real. My dad was a sleaze bag. Oh, my dad was just this disgusting sleaze bag. God, he was like, my dad was like, if Dean Martin had a cousin named Donnie Martin, who was always trying to, muscle in
Yeah.
on his cousin's name. That's what my dad was. My dad was a really good dancer, and as a senior citizen, he was up for getting a job on a senior citizens crew as a dancer. I said, "Oh, you got to take that job. That would be the best way for you to end your life, is just as a sleaze bag, 70-year-old guy doing big band dancing on a cruise ship." Unfortunately, he didn't take the job. But anyway, I digress.
So
As I
let me
always
ask you this, is there anything left from Chaz's garage that we'll see
Oh,
the light of day?
Okay, so I keep mentioning MCA. We had, as our publishers, part of our publishing deal was we had at our disposal for having MCA Universal publish our music, 24-track demo studios that we could use anytime we wanted. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of cassettes out
Wow.
there of us just working on this song, maybe half-assed doing this, finishing that song. There are so many songs. I mean, talk about Tomorrow Wendy. I was just listening to the Wall of Voodoo version of Wendy last night, which is completely different than the version I did with Johnette, and Johnette based her version off of mine. Um, it's kind of spooky era Wall of Voodoo sounding song. Sorry, it's getting a little hot in here. Do you mind if I turn the AC on?
Nope, go right ahead.
Let me finish this thought. So yeah, there is so much more.
Oh
A
wow.
lot of it is Chaz and I are kind of debating whether, um, do we sell this stuff digitally just because some of it would be enhanced cassettes? I mean, do we really want to charge somebody $30-$40 for enhanced cassettes on a vinyl? Can we get it to sound as good as a vinyl record? We'd have to see that, and that's a very costly, time-consuming process. But there is a lot.
So do you guys are there plans to do anything? Is there anything imminent?
Oh, yeah.
Anything you can share with us?
Nope.
Nope.
Respectfully and with great admiration to 104.7 The Cave.
No, okay, I get it.
What? I have always found this. It's the same thing about talking about songs you're working on. Don't talk about the songs you're working on. Don't spend the energy talking about it. Just keep it inside, and it works better that way. So that's another thing. Is I just don't want to talk about what we, anything specific that's not, that's in the works. It jinxes it.
Honestly, it's been a thrill speaking to you. I mean, honestly,
are we over?
Well, I mean, we can go on talking. We can talk about whatever you want to.
If you have any more questions, now's the time to ask them. I'd be happy. You're a very pleasant fellow, Joe.
Well, I'm trying to be very
fun
pleasant
to talk to.
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation because it's for me, I've been doing my little radio show for about 17 years, and the idea behind it was that I would bring back stuff that just didn't get played on the radio that much anymore, and I enjoy playing stuff that makes people that they haven't heard before,
right.
And I enjoy stuff that people haven't heard and played in a long time, and I'm a big Wall of Voodoo fan, and there's no pick up, put down. I don't like it after this point, or I love the whole thing, and I have all the records, and I bought them when they came out, and I still, whenever I find something on my little Discogs website that I search for when I see something that I didn't know was out there. I recently bought a 12-inch of Far Side of Crazy. That I didn't know existed, and then when I put it away in my record collection, I already had that one. I've already got it. So I mean, it was just like a radio promo.
Is it got Dan Shoefuckers and Wrong Way to Hollywood on the B side?
I think it may have it's got this black and white cover of just the band, and it says Wall of Voodoo at the top, and it was one of those things that they would send out to radio stations and let them play. Typically, they had the same song on each side because DJs are dumb, and we could it's on both sides. It's on both sides.
And time is of the essence, so you don't want to be flipping records around in the studio. You don't want dead air. So
yeah, exactly.
There I am defending the corporation, man. I'm defending the man.
Defending the man. So what are you doing these days? What's Andy got going?
Okay, Andy is preparing to do a small release of the songs that were, for lack of a better word, rejected, ignored, or just didn't have time for, as Chaz puts it, songs that I wrote for Wall of Voodoo. I meant to tell you the 3 songs that I gave Wall of Voodoo for my audition tape, for lack of a
Mhm.
word: Far Side of Crazy, Room with a View, and The Hun. 2 of the songs made it to the record. The 3rd song, nobody ever mentioned, never once, never just said, "Hey, what was that last song, that thing about the Hun? What was that all about?" Nobody ever mentioned it. Never. In all the years we were together, nobody ever mentioned that 3rd song. So I'm going to be putting it out. That's the immediate plans. I'm also working on a vinyl double record set from my musical comedy, White Trash Wins Lotto. I will be working. I think I might be working with 2 opera singers, but that's knock on wood. Continuing to compose, continuing to record, also putting together the next bunch of Wall of Voodoo records. So
Oh, wow.
very busy.
Eh, let me go backwards for just a second here, because you were talking about the Hun and that it was never mentioned. Was that kind of the dynamic in the
Yeah,
band?
the way we would work it is we'd kind of put all our songs on a tape. We'd make kind of a group tape and pass it around. And if somebody said, "Hey, what was that song with the blah blah blah?" then we'd work on it. I would have changed that. I would have been a little bit more open about it were I to go back in time. But that's basically the way it worked. Is that you would put songs on tape, and if nobody mentioned it, nobody mentioned it. You
And it
wouldn't work on it.
just
Um,
went
I
off.
want to add one more thing. I don't know if this is any help to you,
Okay.
and then we can conclude. Because when I joined, one of the things that I was, I guess, moral reasons why I joined Wall of Voodoo was that in the previous band I was in, the Eye Protection, which was my band in San Francisco, with four really wonderful, smart, funny, great guys, I was a bit of a tyrant. I was a bit of a dictator. And one of the things I felt I needed to learn how to be is a band member. So when this opportunity came my way, that was one of the things that kind of said, well, this is time for you to learn how to be part of something and not, be the end all and be all of a band and be that kind of a tyrant. So that was another reason why Wall of Voodoo seemed like a real good thing for me, in spite of all the challenges when they first came my way, was that I needed to learn to be a team member. And you know what I learned, Joe? I
What?
learned that I'm a way better tyrant than I am a team member. It's like, yeah, no, I got to either lead the band or just go solo. I don't work well compromising. Not that
Let's,
I'm mean. It's just that I think my work suffers.
so that takes me down another rabbit hole with you, is just the kind of, was it difficult for you when you went into Wall of Voodoo and
Oh yeah, I mean it was
these guys
difficult
are
and it was
established and
difficult and fun. I
yeah.
remember like working with Voodoo in the early days, thinking and listening to them tell these stories and going, God, can't wait till one day maybe we'll have stories like that. And one day you find yourself sitting around with the guys in the band 5 years later telling old stories, and it's like, yeah, we do have those stories. Um, there was a rapport with the original Wall of Voodoo that my Wall of Voodoo did not have. That we were all, there were 2 of us were strangers, and the other 3 were carrying a lot of history and baggage with them. So Sammy's Town was a little hit the floor, hit the floor running. Um, Happy Planet was sort of a questionable adventure. I was really, really looking forward to doing the 4th Wall of Voodoo record, which would have had Tomorrow Wendy on it, because I felt by that point, Mark, Chaz, Ned, and I had that same kind of rapport that the original band had evolved into. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, no, makes
I
perfect
mean, if you
sense.
compare their first records to Call of the West, it's night and day. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still the same band, but it's just the maturity, the sophistication is five people working together who really knew each other and really understood each other. And I felt that by the fourth record we could have done, we had that kind of rapport with one another. So
How much
it was difficult, but it was also fun. Those guys are also really funny when they let loose.
how much of the fourth record did you get you felt like you were ready to go? How much of that?
A lot of what was on my solo album,
Yeah.
provided that it got accepted. I mean, there's also I've been going through a catalog of old songs from the fourth record that never made it to my first solo record. That I'm listening now, going, yeah, I wrote this for that. I wrote that. There's this song. There's that song. So I write a lot when I write.
Are you
When I'm writing, I write a song a day more or less, and just push
really?
yourself to finish it. Yeah, you just whether it's good or bad, you finish it. You make the commitment to the muse or whatever you have. You make a commitment to the music that I'm going to finish this, whether it's good or bad. I'm going to finish this today. Sing it through once, and you're done, or keep writing. You know,
What stops you from writing? What keeps you where do you have you found yourself at any time where you're like you've been away from it too long?
no, if you don't write every day, you get like writer's block. You get that kind of like I can't write songs anymore. It's like that for the first 2 weeks if you haven't written for a while. Like right now, I've been doing so much production. Um, I'm not writing as much as I normally do. So getting back and writing, it's like going to the gym again after not being there for a while. Most people, it takes about 2 weeks to get back into stride, to get back in shape. And most people give up at day 13. They go, oh, I just can't write anymore. But I feel that if you write every day, when the real good ideas hit you, you're ready for it. You follow me?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying because I have, my son wants to write and not music, but he wants to write stories. And a friend of ours gave him the encouragement, just get it out, just verbal diarrhea on the page, just write, 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 write. And then you can go back and look at it and go, well, this is garbage, but this here
Right.
works and kind of
Yeah.
thing. So,
Talk to my wife. I mean, that's what she does. She's written, I don't know how many books she's written, and it's like write a lot of slop and then start editing
yeah.
and
And then
edit and re-edit. I mean, my lyrics are the same way. You should see my books, what they look like. Just edit,
do you have like, do
edit,
you carry
edit.
notebooks with you
Yeah.
and
And
you
I
just
only
write?
work, I work with pencil till I get a version that I'm somewhat happy with, and then I turn it into black ink. That way, when I'm flipping through a notebook years later, I go, okay, here's the final version, or here's the semi-final version. Um, but yeah, I write longhand. I don't write on computer. I don't write typing. I write longhand because it's just a different use of the brain. It's much nicer to write with a pencil.
Do you find that you like have I'm sure you have, but just from a person that doesn't write music, I'm curious. Do you find that you like you write a line and then maybe 10 or 15 pages later you've written a line for maybe something else, but you go, no, those two go together, and
Oh yeah,
let's yeah.
yeah. I used to work with Scott Tunis, who played bass with Frank Zappa, and he'd come in and play a bass on a song of mine, and a year later, he's playing bass on another song of mine with the same lyrics with similar lyrics from the year before. He goes, "I hate when you cannibalize your lyrics." I'm like, it's the same truth, it's the same thought. It's just moved over here. I took it from that song where it really wasn't quite working, and I moved it over to here where it does really work with the other ideas. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the great thing about writing a song every day is that by the end of the year you have 365 songs. Most of them are worthless, but every one of them has a little something you can use later. And that's the way it's done.
Do you find it too as a songwriter that that doing that process is therapeutic for you too, almost like journaling? No,
No, no. You mean like whether I come to some kind of spiritual
no,
resolution
not
over
necessarily. No,
issues?
no, not necessarily.
And I'm not being facetious. I mean that like some psychological or spiritual resolution, or something is resolved. No, it's being able to inhabit a thought or a feeling, inhabit a place, inhabit somebody's personality. It's that. it's also God, I'm sorry, I'm going to sound like some hippie pothead.
Not at all.
Um, Therapeutic in the way that it's a great way for the subconscious and the intellect to join forces and work together after a while. Sometimes you sing a bunch of babbly lyrics that don't make any sense, but that's just because the subconscious is trying to tell you something, and the subconscious doesn't always speak English. So it'll throw out babble words and you go, what does that sound like? I mean, kind of like images in a dream. See what I mean? I'm sound like a tea drinker, and I am a tea drinker, but it gets into the ethereal, and it's very hard to explain.
No, I know, because I get where you're coming from, because there's a couple of different songwriters that I've read about, and John Lennon specifically was one that was like, just put whatever there.
Yeah.
Just put it doesn't have to make sense. Just put whatever there as a placeholder, and then come back to it when you get it figured out.
Well, as I've said, I hope I'm not going on too long. There's a song of mine called, a prime example of that is a song of mine called When This Dream Is Over. It's on my second solo album. When This Dream Is Over. Okay, so I had this really nice melody and a really, good idea, but I couldn't think of what the hook line was. And that's really, really difficult when you have the melody, but you can't think of what's fitting in there, because now you're kind of following the structure of melody as opposed to the sentiment. And I kept singing Poor Old Lita Barova. And at the time, I was reading this book on, of all people, Joseph Goebbels. And Joseph Goebbels was having an affair with a Czech actress named Lita Barova. And she got really effed over because she was having an affair with Joe Goebbels, which doesn't help anybody's reputation.
No.
And Hitler told him to knock it off, and then she got sent back, and she was, blah, 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 blah. So I kept singing Poor Old Lita Barova for this line, Poor Old Lita Barova, and I couldn't think of what I was going to sing. So one day I sat down, I said, okay, you're singing Lita Barova. What does that sound like? Okay, so the obvious is Barova, ova, something is over. Okay, something is over. So we have a long E sound. What is over with this long C and long E sound in Lita? Lita Barova, something's over with a long E sound. What is when this dream is over? I'll still believe in you when this dream is over. Boom.
Wow.
Follow me? So I'm sorry, that was the subconscious going, yeah, Lita Barova. Yeah, figure it out. You'll figure it out. Go ahead. Lita Barova. I'm your dream self talking to you. Lita Barova. Where does that lead you, Andy? Where does that lead you? Follow the
amazing.
So, that's what I mean, is sometimes the psyche doesn't always speak in English. Anyway, so, that's a whole interview for another time of songwriting and breaking through it. Tell your son to follow the page a day, 1 page a day, just 1 page a day. Get a notebook and fill that page top to bottom. And when you're done, you're done. And if you miss a day, you got to do 2 pages the next day. And if you miss those days, 3 pages. Just keep doing that. That's a great way to break through that. I got to be great. That is what's going to kill you as a songwriter or an author anytime. I got to be great. Everything I write, it's got to be great. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's like John Lennon said, like you see that somewhere in Let It Be where George Harrison is going, I just can't write it. It just doesn't come. It's something I just get. And John Lennon's going, just write about taking a shit or something. For fuck's sake, just fill it in, anything. Right?
Yes.
How about that horrible impersonation of the Beatles?
Oh no, that's actually very good. It's funny because you were mentioned earlier about everybody having a Stan Ridgway impersonation. I think everybody has a variation of their Beatles impersonation too.
Right.
For the years.
Everybody does a good Ringo.
Yeah. Again, it's been a privilege for me to talk to you.